sometimes
This is streaming data.
I mean, people stream from their phones, though.
No, but the university's wired data is pretty fast.
You're lying.
Sometimes I'm astonished how fast it is.
Oh, you have to hit the, well, I mean, right, that's
Yeah.
Is it live?
Yeah. I mean, it tells me here you're lying.
But where's the play thing in there?
It's fine. Now I need to get the YouTube link.
Okay, and then we can test it on another.
Correct.
But it should show there, right?
I don't know that it did yesterday.
I think it did.
So it seems likely that it's just the upload capability of the TriCaster is our limitation.
So yesterday I got the link from, you can get the link.
Did you get it from your email?
No, I got it from my account, you know, on my laptop. There shouldn't be a difference between this and my laptop, right? It should be all the same, because you're in my account.
But you would think, you would hit, I think there'd be a copy link button or.
Yeah.
Notify
What did we
people
do
or
yesterday?
share.
Maybe this is it.
Oh, yeah.
But how did you get this from there?
There should be a share button down below, shouldn't there?
Yeah, I can invite your friends.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I need to email it somehow.
Well,
It should be, if he logs into his machine, he should be able to get the link off of his account for this channel, and then that's what we'll send. Because only people who have this link are gonna be ones that see it. This isn't for everybody. So.
It's like the jurors are being bribed.
I know, right?
You're not such a bribe
And
to
the
jurors.
video guy actually gets brought up too. Whoever's
Is
doing
this
the
a,
video.
I mean, is this a
You
trial
better
about,
stay, you better stay in the,
is this a trial about like the abuse of like chocolate companies?
yeah, that's right, they're being,
The additives.
It's gonna be an example of what happens if you take bribes.
So right now, I'm.
At the
fairly
moment when the
certain-
jurors open the chocolate, they all get carted away to jail.
If you want, you can use this computer to log in to YouTube. It doesn't matter which machine you're on. If that's good.
I like my shiny Mac.
That's fair enough. They're good machines, man. I just don't like the things the company's doing, personally.
yeah, life was good in 2002 when
Yeah.
we Apple people could be, you know, have our noses up in the air.
When
Everyone
Think
else-
Different was really a thing, right?
Yeah.
And it all went downhill after Steve Jobs left.
Say the old people.
You sound like an old dude.
Say the old people.
Oh,
My
it
day,
really was.
Steve Jobs was still running things.
He, once that other guy took over, he started making it just more monetized instead of the
No, I think there's probably more pressure from market forces to increase,
That's probably why.
you know, efficiency. Yeah.
Too stressed out, yeah, right?
Yeah.
If there's
I'm pretty
Stress
sure
ain't good
that's
for the health.
what killed him. He made a lot of good product, or he built a really good product. And then ever since I got to wherever, he started chipping away at every single little thing.
He made a good product, it was called Next.
Yeah. And if you could, just send that to all the people that are in the email that says, you know, hey, be down here at 3 o'clock. Cause I know you're probably gonna be watching it in your office to see if the stream's going.
Right.
I'll probably be watching it until 6 o'clock to make sure everything's going okay. And then,
For right now,
Okay.
Are you sure this cool little share button won't do it?
no, that's the thing. Yes, it'll do it, but I still need to be able to
I
send.
can never run into the private
Like,
network.
yeah, you get the
I
link.
want to be able
Computer.
to email, and I don't
Right.
have to log into his email on the
I'm never able to log into the private,
I guess it's short enough, I can just
Really?
read. We can
Yeah,
just type
that's
the
true.
thing
We
in.
can type into our phones.
That I don't know.
You'll know in like 10 seconds if you got it wrong.
That's true.
whenever I do that, yes,
Use
but
the
it
backslash.
tells me, backslash.
Yeah,
It's
normally on
almost
Mac,
as short
you
as a
don't
bit
have
link.
it.
Yeah.
Right?
What is it, tiny URL?
says I have it.
Yeah, you're on public.
Yeah.
You should be getting internet.
Yeah.
Hey.
Stuart's just typing the actual link into his computer.
El Racia.
I'm pretty sure you're gonna need this. We're having wireless connection issues.
That's gonna be the defining statement.
Can you, actually, can you record it all on that machine and see if the old link works? Maybe.
You're welcome. You supposed to catch that?
You have a drawer
No,
for
it's-
lunch,
On
Not for
a
YouTube.
On the direct one.
and
Oh, really?
I wouldn't think so.
if you sit down
Because, I
in
mean,
your
I've
seat,
had
you
it
sit
matter on
down.
other types of URLs.
Oh.
Be careful.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll type it without, if it's easier, and then
I'm gonna get out of your way, so you can have the council tables, okay?
okay, whatever that was, that's on the middle. I'll try it with
Oh, hello. Officer King. Officer King.
Yes.
Yeah, Wen Weber.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. University.
We told them how appreciative we were that they were able
Oh,
to
I
do this for us.
appreciate you. Oh, great, good, so much.
Live now.
Can we sit here or?
Yes, yes, yes. I'm just in your way.
This is a, no, safety groups. Yeah.
Yeah.
It even has sound.
Did you get in?
He's logged on to his phone. He's getting the share the YouTube thing. He's gonna email.
Well, that's not how
Your
you
one
do
says on the
it.
field.
That's only
I don't know if
part,
I
that's
typed it wrong.
a very small part of the mock trial. It's the verdict.
Well, not guilty, but we failed to provide physical evidence of the body.
Hi, actually,
Good, how you doing?
Oh, great.
I can see you.
I'm happy if you weren't all suited up.
That's okay.
I'm just glad to see you. We'll do it on your terms there.
It's a little sweaty, but I'm trying to keep the sweat off here.
Thank you.
It's the humidity gets me.
Oh, man, it is hot, and I'm like this. So, there's your chair. The drawers have your instructions, badges, I tried to remember.
Oh, let's read this later,
I
It
need
helps
to-
me keep track of
Yes. I need to give you a photo release, because they all have them, so I need to get one for you. I didn't put
If I
that
stop it, will it stop?
Okay.
Stop the stream?
And,
Should.
So I should not stop.
Yes, you're on the scene, right?
just a second.
That's not.
That's not.
Well, just the
Right now, I'm just looking at if I stop.
You can tell the amendment.
I did, I printed the motion in limited. Okay. Was there anything else? I printed the jury charges for testifying and not testifying. Is this your fifth year?
Yeah.
You and Judge Neves, I think both, y'all,
Okay,
it's
so
your
it's
fifth year,
working.
okay.
So I'm on.
I think I'm gonna hand this to you instead of giving it to you.
Okay, so we're good. So let's get over to the
I just
garden.
meant
Make
like
sure I
the
stay to the end.
prosecution list
Good, you're
of
walking
like
around.
witnesses.
Hey, how's it going?
Evidence
Hey,
that
sir.
you're writing or
Hey.
something like that. I didn't know if that was for the judge.
I think the only ones I've met over there are Look and Payne. Yeah, but-
I'll hold that against you.
Okay.
Right.
You must work nights.
You got the
I
one I
used to,
sent
when I was
you.
at FPO.
Right.
That's when I met them, they
I
got me on
sent,
station.
I replied to what you said to my Gmail account this
Me too.
morning.
Right.
Well, a little bit longer.
No, it was the other one just saying like, who's doing what in the
No.
trial. You're saying,
No,
okay.
I didn't get that. I may have already left. when you
Okay.
sent it. When you sent it.
Okay.
I think so, so ready to go log in?
I was available.
Put your total that you need, where you need it, okay?
Dr. Weber's
It'll be okay.
associate judge.
Okay, I didn't know if it was.
He asked me to do every year.
He is kind of funny.
Okay.
He
Yeah, go see
pretty
what
much, he's pretty much in control.
Go see if the
Okay.
So we don't have to worry a whole lot, as long as I can keep things streamlined for Denny, and, you know, like,
reduce the fiddle factor for him. I just kinda need a clearer path, because he's all district. We have a presiding district judge who comes in and keeps for us, and I always wanna keep him happy because I have to appear in front of him every week, so. Yeah.
I never met him though. I used to work over in Galveston County.
Is that right?
Yeah, I
For the
met
SO?
several other ones. I met Mark Henry and Judge Schweitzer, Terry
Yes.
Foley. But I
Yes.
never met Neves.
Well, you know, Judge Foley.
Test, test, test.
She was a key in
I thought you were.
But she's our new county judge.
County Court, yes, yeah.
Yeah, and her husband, right, is Chief Nestle Bay?
Yes, I believe so.
Tim Carmy?
Yes, and I have not, hey, Nick! All right, let me get hugs, I'm sorry. All these former students coming back, what, you know, what a testament to the legal studies program. How you doing, Lynell?
Trying to
I'm gonna hug you
survive.
anyway, even though I see you every day. Good luck, thank you.
Yeah, trying to survive, keep my head up, but it's, time is flying.
I don't see any deep circles under your eyes.
Yeah, that's good,
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, it's tough. I did Montreal
I
last
told
semester.
you, now listen to me. You think that's hard? Go be a criminal lawyer.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, criminal law is not my highest grade right now.
Grades,
It's-
grades,
it's-
schmades.
Yeah, I don't know if it's my teacher. I'd rather you be teaching me criminal law, but.
Man,
my,
I'm gonna blush.
I'm doing really good in contracts. Actually, we just got our midterms back.
Weird, isn't that
I know.
weird? I did well in and I did really well in probate and oil and gas law.
Oh,
How
really?
did that happen? I did great in both those jobs,
Yeah,
yeah.
last year I got a B in
Still a
property,
criminal lawyer.
which surprised me because I felt like I met electric property a lot. That was actually my highest grade.
I signed up
I
for
got a
the
B in the whole class.
Wow.
You just like the excitement.
Property law?
No, criminal law.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, my dad was an elected DA. And my grandmother was court reporter for 36 years, and my great-grandmother was the first woman court reporter in Texas.
Yeah.
So I grew up in the courtroom. And it was just,
Yeah.
I was always a very quiet person, but it was a natural habitat for me.
Well, my parents were civil servants, but nothing in law enforcement. They worked out in NASA. Actually, the reason why I ended up getting into law enforcement is when I was about 14, 15, we were having family problems, and I was kind of starting to hang around with the wrong people, and starting to turn to the dark side.
Yep.
And one of the Nassau Bay police officers, I don't know if you ever knew him, Danny Hudson, but anyway, he befriended me, and actually I started working with him, helping him install alarms on the ZOP time and stuff.
Wow.
That kind of inspired me to help people, so.
I told you about our first encounter with this on the I was in the DA's office for a short stint in Harris County, and I was working on jury reds for the state. Well, I got home, and it was late, because I always left in the dark and got home dark. I had 2 little babies. And an officer said, when the police came by, so I thought, what have you done now? He said, are you going to look for me? They were looking for Jack. Jack's coming. She sent me a year and a half. I figured it would happen, but I didn't think it would happen that soon. And they said, yeah, he said, the officer came to the door and he was very stern. And he asked, do you have a son living in the house? And, yes, sir. He said, well, I'd like to speak to him. I said, well, I'm gonna have to wake him up.
Okay,
Well, I'd
so
like to see him if
Sabrina,
I could.
which Professor
Okay,
Overgod,
it's gonna be a one-sided conversation.
Jeff,
'cause he's
my
not
Jeff,
talking yet.
Nick, Vinny,
He's just a baby.
where's Ruben?
So
Retreat.
some kid
Ruben's
had
on his way.
probably
He's
given
not
the
doing
old
that.
switcheroo
He's
to the
driving.
officer and sent him to the wrong house.
He's
Yeah.
driving.
And I drove, of course, I was a prosecutor, and I drove, what? Jack's first encounter with law
Yeah.
enforcement. Before he had all his teeth.
Yeah, that's what I told Jeff too. And he's like, I'll be there in 20 minutes.
Now, didn't you,
Yeah.
isn't it, but you were stressed when you're at somebody fun.
I was worried about I
And
don't
it's
have
good
all the
that
stuff.
they would have, the leadership positions.
No, we
at
should
the
have
university.
Right, how many motions do we have?
Y'all sent us 2 motions.
And
and,
discovery, and y'all sent
Yeah,
them
and
back?
then the discovery requests, and we sent back 2 responses to the motions and a response to the discovery.
Those were difficult, and I didn't try too hard, 'cause I,
Then do you only have 2 pictures?
summer classes.
Yeah.
Are
Well,
you know, 'cause you
Yeah, we
get
have,
some
we have
classes
2
before, but
photos, and then we
the- for
included
me,
the,
law school
I think they
wasn't
forgot to
really
mark it. We included the,
I mean, it's a subject,
arresting
yeah.
officers
And
report,
I
just in
warned you
case.
about
I know
that.
we're not,
It's like,
you know, it's just in
say,
case.
drinking
I
out.
have that in my,
It just doesn't stop. It keeps coming. It's
narratives
like finals,
section.
but every
Yeah.
day, yeah.
Like a
So-
whole year.
So you've got to stay on. So what I would do, that was in the days before people had computers. My dad brought me a brand new electric typewriter as I was going off to law school. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And
Of course I got 50.
I know, dumb question. It's a lawyers, we either have 20 pins or none, one or the other, because you're always picking them up. And we're the worst pen thieves in the world too, because we're so absent-minded, you're so used to having a pen in your hand, you don't pay any attention to whose it is. Anyway, I would, whenever I got home from class, of course, I had to handwrite my notes because I didn't have a computer. And when I was home from class every single day, I would type my notes. So that way I had a chance to think about what the lecture I heard that day. And I would kind of organize them all like a big amount. So I could organize them better. So when it came to studying for final, I had already been through everything. It was easier to organize it again. But that's the way I studied. I just had to write
So those are the 2 big areas that I recommend. Don't use that. Go back.
You gotta do it every day. If you do it every day, and stay on top of it, it's
Instead, just
but
select
if you let it go,
one of the other cameras.
then after the big rains come, you've got a jungle, you need to get out the machete. Yeah, it's tough.
It looks like you need to be able to see it.
Did we find them?
They're not here yet, right?
They're at the rec center.
No.
So what might wanna happen is that, you know, if you wanna look for lawyers, evaluation, and then have the judge.
If I had to look at anything that, I guess, prepared me the most for law school was this one.
How did you usually
I don't know if that's the bad thing in that class.
Okay.
This one trial, no one knows, in law school, you know, order of the trial on the first.
I don't even know her name. Tracy Davis.
And nobody knows.
But the recording.
I tried to do that. I was at the coach, they were doing it, I was telling them that you were trying to do it, you know?
And he was.
So, unfortunately, we didn't get that bad first round, but,
Kiara?
you know.
It's her first
Yeah,
time, I think.
and you're just starting out, so you're gonna be better right next time. That's how you learn. But don't you think this program is a great idea to encourage and discourage? So that's the thing, because you don't wanna make that big investment doing that.
So basically, what I want you to do is come back down there and just make sure that your record button is not.
We're working on a witness room. I don't know if I have a jury room. I have a bunch of stuff. You think you can find it? Oh, good, thank you. A tree is one of your jurors. I have, guys, they've all been wonderful people. I have a basket under my chair over here, and so I'm gonna collect these in the basket and also, the attorney comment forms. And
TriCasters walk in the door, I'm gonna give them and ask them some comments on what they're saying, write down comments, and then I collect them when I leave. So I'll see you there, that'll be your spot. All right, I'm gonna Facebook somebody's sale.
Did I give you permission to be photographed?
You're gonna video this,
Yeah.
so if you don't mind,
No, I don't
appreciate
mind.
that.
They
You
do
got
their-
your- Yes, sir. Yeah, guys.
No, what I'm saying is,
are-
they giving yourself permission for you to be photographed.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's the university, I'm not sure who's holding the gate this year, but, we'll see, but we wanna keep them happy with it, that's okay. The line cleans up a little bit. Are these ready? Perfect, thank you. Witnesses, very good. Excuse me.
I'm looking for a little bit of levity after the last couple of days. It's been,
I was working at Belvedere in Galveston, at the same time I was covering Tweeting, Tennessee, because I'm researching. I got there they said, okay, we have 2 inmates. All right, great, I call in the morning and I call in the evening. So I got 2 inmates. I drove over there, and by the time I got there, they had just arrested a 3rd one. Okay, that's cool, so I started getting out all the paperwork for 3 people, and I filled that all out before I could see them. So going out for number 3, and boom, here came a 4th one. And they said, oh, it's okay, you don't need to see him, he's here on federal charges. We think Homeland Security's gonna come get him. So, okay, cool. The next day, at 6:40 a.m., I was at the Galveston jail for bail review. Ended up being one. So it's a good thing I didn't have to magistrate him.
well, I'm sorry, I had to do something.
Oops. Woo. That was nice.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a wild week, and I had a guy today who was, he was studying so he's a lot of. But I did a flash so video but he's harmless. He didn't even know, he lives with his parents, he didn't have access to anything, but they let him on the computer because he didn't work, right? And he never goes anywhere, he just stays at home. He can't drive or anything. And so, you know, I'm sure he was just goofed, punching words and stuff came up, and he thought, what the heck is that? Because he's just never been exposed to anything. And so I don't know, he must have shared some of his side or something, I don't know what happened, but this is a case. So he's on you can't be on your name at all. It usually is. Well, in sex offender, you have to be on just one. Well, we can go with it. He's been in jail since September. And it wasn't his fault, right? Because he just wasn't capable. So we got him all doped up. We went to court like this today. And I worked it all out. But it was interesting when I first saw him. I said, okay. And he isn't so bad. He's quite badly. And I think he said, you never touched Charlie. You never touched your Charlie. You never touched your Charlie. It's like talking to a 4-year-old. Take pictures of children.
No, when you agree to what it is.
Have a picture of the child.
That's like I can't go work anywhere else because I don't agree.
So that's the level, you know, but that's my heart, that's been my week this week, and last week too. It's very exhausting.
I come in at 5 now. Yesterday, I came back.
My brother was a sergeant at the jail. The captain didn't like him. So he took me.
Came across.
I felt like, hey, just get out. Experience.
All right. You didn't want to go somewhere, I think it's.
Right.
Offered somebody. Broke out.
Oh, streaming now.
Car?
Was he still hitting his head, by the way? The one you're talking about?
What now?
The one you were talking about, is he still hitting his head?
No, that wasn't that guy. Oh, I have a guy who was hitting his head all the
I
time.
had to put him in restraint chair so many times I was in the jail because he wouldn't quit hitting his head.
Yeah, you're talking about Nash, right? We're not talking about,
His last name is.
Mills.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah, kind of white guy, about just shy of 6 foot.
Beard.
Long hair.
Round eyes. No, he didn't have.
Well, not long hair, but he had it like
Uh-huh.
slicked back. But he, for a little while there, was keeping his head on the window. when he
No,
was
that
in-
was
so it was like
Nash,
commission.
Corn's dad doing that.
The officer arrested.
That he was not the dog, but not, is he streaming live right now? So it's-
He was down in the county jail.
The other thing, not, once you click on it, that's what I was telling the guy yesterday, is just click this button, we're going for a mouse start.
No, you don't miss that.
Brenda said, oh, you say control, yeah, it's just like.
And he takes away.
Right, and then
He said, just, he got you.
He was told,
Yeah.
he was back.
And so, actually, and I was really impressed that Joseph really got on the ball and they took care of trade and everything. So we were on the
He
deer about
said
an
that other
hour.
guy that was here yesterday, long hair.
And then we had to take it back.
He said he was gonna get back to you.
And finally,
We
You got here, he's here, I think we went to Russian.
We finally got through about 9:30.
Ah, gee, 9:30 in the evening, 5
No,
o'clock?
no,
Oh,
9:30 in the afternoon.
Oh, okay, all right, that's still a long time.
How you doing? Good to see you again.
Good to see you. How you doing?
I was going to come in and say hello. I know he went to the bedroom, so once he gets in, I'll say hello.
Oh, you saw it?
We have like the jury room.
Oh, good,
Will be
okay,
down,
yeah, I
like,
had,
room YU 3235.
You know where it's at?
Yes, sir.
Are you gonna take a
I'll
look
fit on.
today? Yeah, okay.
And where's the
Sit on
one?
Hand you that. I have
We
them
find out
basket,
that out
and just
too.
as long
Probably
as
have one.
Wednesday is great, if you don't mind just tossing it at me.
You said you had a witness.
I do, but I'm not sure, I think it's the same one last year. Let me hand
Cut her down, there's
this.
a
Road.
The little small one, is it 1508, 06, the one that they went in last time?
I think that's where we're going.
Okay.
Laura said she had one.
And the
for
jury
us.
room is 1335.
Okay, because I can call Laura and I
When I saw you, that's what I was supposed to here. It's officially
And it should
started.
be around this way.
Yeah,
Down that way.
yeah, it's that big.
I'll show them when I stand over there.
Oh, look, I'll have to remember, I'll make me feel bad, I got the class, I got taught this name tag. There he is, I think he's coming in now.
Anything you see that could be or whatever. I think it's.
How you doing? I think you see him coming in. Guys, look.
I'm the very.
Good to see you again. How are you?
Hello, sir, I'm just here to say hello, I'm Professor Taylor. Yeah, I told Ben I'd come in and say hello, so. Yeah, so.
Taylor, and she is on the criminal justice side, just had a mock trial last night. Have you
We
already
did, we
told
did.
them all that?
Yeah, we did. No, I didn't, I just saw, we had about 30 students in here last night. The room was full and, they had fun. It was great. They also videotaped it, so they're gonna videotape yours as well. We did streaming, so the guard rooms will have a huge group in the overflow. But it was interesting, you know, it got really, one of the witnesses got kind of heist and the prosecutor said, "Are you upset?" She said, "No, I'm not upset." But I think it was part of what they were doing, you know, they were kind of playing it up, but it was great. It was good. It was a very good learning experience. And Mr. Ryan is actually in my class as well.
He's in both,
So,
double dipping.
Yeah, he was a prosecutor. They did a phenomenal job.
Good.
They really
You
did.
never know what's going to happen in a real trial.
That's exactly correct. So,
Yeah.
but thank you for being here again. Look forward to it. And I know that you're all set. You've got everything that you need. Okay, that's fine. All right. Did you guys get something? You guys get? Did you guys get?
I just say,
Did you? Okay. Okay. Nice to meet you too.
oh, you know, more deliberation.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you more deliberation.
Okay, no problem, all right, so, is there one, are you when you're participating in the hot seat?
No, y'all, I know.
Here, if not,
We need
I'm
an
gonna
independent.
pop out, is that okay? Okay, no problem. Hey, and look at you back again.
We're doing
Oh, yeah, this is your first time? Okay, yeah, the young lady that was here, yesterday, I'm normally really good with names and faces. She had her hair up, she had her glasses on, just like you did.
I'm one of the sisters. I'm her sister.
Okay, okay. If you had a family member that was here, we did a mock trial last evening as well, so.
I'm there.
Okay, you're perfect. Okay, all right. You don't mind us giving us a little bit of information to you? Don't sit in. You can
Really good to do the time that you should be
Just saying questions, and then a lot of times the judge will ask me this because if he does this, you can ask, Your Honor, make this excuse, and they'll ask me, or the judge, he'll ask them, do you have any cash? I know you didn't want to comment, but I gave them to you anyway.
Oh, that's right.
Right
Oh,
on.
I totally get it. You got it.
I've got that in my studio setup, where I've got VR, mixed reality, so.
You gotta play Beat Saber all day?
Yeah.
You have the witness room over here, the same one we had last time, is that what you were saying?
I'm gonna check, I need to find Pilar because, so I'm gonna check on this one.
Yeah, cause the one they wanted to use for the jury room is it's a hike.
It's a hike, okay, so we.
So if we can utilize this one over here for both,
So yeah, we can do that for better, absolutely.
yeah, keep the witnesses in there during the trial when they rest and kick everybody out there and put the jury in there.
And as a, that'd be great, and as a plan B, there were some, those chairs out in the hallway that are all strung together. Witnesses can be there too, if we, for some reason, we have overlap. Or whatever you think works the best, as long as they're separate, then it doesn't. Yeah, okay, perfect, thank you for sorting that out.
Well, witnesses can be together, they just can't talk.
Right, well, yeah. Probably not good that the witnesses and the jurors are sitting.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It feels so unnatural just handing something to you after they're about asking. I'm scared.
Where is Brett?
Oh, and I'll give you this.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Easy, gotta check it.
What now? No, we have the originals, and who's gonna look at it, when we offer any evidence, we may want to see it. If they don't, if they do reject, then it's going to carry to both sides, and then decide, we are probably going to see it. If there's an objection, then you probably won't ask to see it. Yeah, yeah. But they need to be marked, okay? They are marked.
So all the pre-trial have been done?
Our pre-trials have been done, except that, it was very good last minute housekeeping, nobody's invoked the roll, for example. You might, if you want to just swear the witnesses in before we get started, then that can be done, and, probably want to get it first.
We got jurors?
We do have jurors, I think we have all, well, we may have 5, one of our CPS caseworkers has graduated from this program, and, she's gonna come and give, as a matter of fact, I think every juror has been marked off or something, so, yeah. All right, and this is your future.
Or you start a show, which is the new edition. My grandson bought the rock, but he is Robert Paul Ashley Ross.
Look at that. You know what he needs?
King William.
A little non-cat, outfit we have for little babies, a non-cat t-shirt. Definitely you get him a non-cat shirt.
And business are starting up. It's gonna be a hot summer.
It's not exactly. It's just similar.
It depends.
She gets, whatever comes back when she's a seizure. And so she went in and contained her. Her sisters, like if they tried to take her life, but she wasn't with she's a UT. She's her stroke to do a seizure study. She has yes, yeah, and it's a seizure. But anyway, yeah, so I think they just call them or the security police.
Did she give you their phone number, so go down there and check?
But I think that I'll just use work it out. I think he has one and he's gonna use it both for the drawers and
For the, okay, that's fine, I just wanted to be sure, because I just went down and saw Pilar, and I thought she was gonna send a student down there to tell me that.
oh, you know what I do need to run seer. I need water for the judge.
Yeah, no, let me go, I'll go, let me go. Yeah, I'm on the committee, so it's part of my job.
Appreciate
Let me
that.
go, and then I'll have her bring in just, so how many, just, 20?
I'd like one, and it looks like two, 20 would be great.
Okay,
I
let me-
need one for the jurors,
And one for in there, okay, I'll go get those.
Thank you.
And the jury room, the witness room.
Oh, and the witness room, right. Witness room.
Okay, let me go and do that. It's gonna be 150806, and then also I'll bring the water back.
Is that the one we used last time?
Thank you.
He replaced him 3 weeks ago, and it was so good. 3 weeks ago.
You wanna check it out, and then grab this with Elma, since you have just.
He
gets chocolate for his.
They're trying to keep up with.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't.
Can you hear?
But it was great.
Okay, so,
Are you the man?
this is the man.
That's the man. All right, I'll win.
Nice to meet you.
Just on the supply chain, thank you very much. So you're gonna be the one running.
How are you?
Okay.
I wanna make sure that the speakers actually say.
Okay, so.
Thank you.
Come over here.
No, I'm sorry.
In my world, you never know. How you doing?
That is what we use. Your technique is training right now.
So much for helping. Yeah, no, that's really
It's called like lawyer.
No. But this is basically, oh, there's one more thing you gotta do. That mouse on the so you see yellow button says. So right now we're still. Right there. As soon as you connect the gap and then turn it on, then we're ready to be.
Okay, so just to run it over real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4. So which one?
Well, she's going to show some documents.
4 first. 4
That's
first.
not gonna show up.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and then.
But it's not me.
Ideally though, it should be.
Measures already started.
Forms of evidence.
This is still better than having it without it.
3, and then.
No, I don't know.
Ideally, it should be.
The chocolates.
3.
Here's the
Okay.
It is a pretty big killer in the US.
Okay. So, this would be for if the judge is speaking. This would be at the start where it's not coming in.
Right, and you might have a jury speaker. No, there could be a prosecutor standing there facing judge.
And then
Hopefully the speaker is always facing the camera. We don't have.
Right?
That's what her.
Even though, you're gonna, if that officer has that hiccup, I'm gonna allow them to use that technology as a reminder if they need to approach the bench in the same
Now you can
minutes.
stop.
Have burned the record. Are y'all okay with that?
They stop for
It says normally, it would be an officer document provided, but I'm saying this technology is based on office.
So yesterday, because she has to stand back up.
So it says this officer will monitor this time.
Anyone watching the street didn't know what the end of the
okay, so during the break, stop
Take
over.
them in the witness stand, if he's
Stop the
stuck,
stream.
then they'll be able to approach and he'll be able to refresh his memory with that technology. Okay?
Oh, you're talking about the stream?
All right.
Yep.
Oh, thank you.
I'll be right back.
What's that? Because I'm in the garden.
It'll just look like that, but it is, which is dark candles. Okay.
No, it's not. We had Patrick Cruz yesterday. Okay.
Yeah, if we can keep it, just so it doesn't bother you.
Right. You can have that chair.
That shouldn't cover you guys.
I'll put that on. Got that. Don't walk.
I ended up in the job, so I'm doing that now. So she's on the.
Oh, it's 4 o'clock, guys.
Yeah.
They're gonna be clearing the air, starting like,
So pointed. But when she says, certainly when she says.
Y'all need water? Oh, yes. We have water.
Yeah, right, of course, like, yeah, I can do the day
Brittany Balance works for just like, yeah.
I'm gonna be watching the stream just like he's gonna be watching
You're gonna feel awfully lonely because we
Weird, isn't it?
got that. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'll be in the garden room watching the live stream.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. It takes a village, yeah.
They're gonna swear everybody in and, hopefully there'll be some waters. We don't have a timekeeper.
If someone says that you don't, they since you were the last minute man.
And, I don't know where you're gonna put this, but I'll just stick it under there, but, thank you for, helping us out with our jam. Appreciate that.
Okay, so it's been going over. This is gonna be very different. Usually we go in there and the judge does actually, I guess. But before we started.
Yes.
We're still trying to confirm the room, but I'm gonna put the witnesses around the corner in those chairs, right around that corner here. And that way they're close, and then when we nail down where we put the jurors.
But if it's 1335, I'll take them to that one too. So that way you'll know. 1335 is gonna go this hallway, so would it be closer, it's actually.
Are those chairs closer to
Yeah. Okay, good, yeah.
Right, that's what I'm gonna do.
And these all jurors. These all the jurors. Don't worry about all this.
Okay, you know, it's only water in the courtroom, okay, okay. Down around here, or there should be one down around here. There actually should be one inside the classroom.
That's not real bad. I'm not gonna. Tag you. You have that. All right, mock court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Denise presiding.
Good afternoon, please be seated. All right, this is cause number 18CR9711, State of Texas versus Tracy Davis. Is the state ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, are there any housekeeping matters, other things other than the limites that need to be taken up at this time?
We also be, witnesses be sworn in beforehand.
Invoking the rule?
Yes.
Okay, the rule has been invoked. That means that only the persons testifying or parties can be in the courtroom during the presentation of evidence. Are there any witnesses in the courtroom who will be testifying? If you would all please stand and raise your right hand. Do each of you swear or affirm the testimony you are about to offer in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so you got it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, please be seated for the moment. Anything else? All right, and then before we begin, Dr. Weber.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here, especially those participants and the people who support us every year. I want to take a moment just to recognize we are so fortunate to have the support we have in this program. For example, we have 6 jurors today who have been through this program, and that just is a testament to the dedication and the way this program works and gives. That we have people who want to come back and support it. And I hope that you students today will do the same thing. Go out in your communities, wherever you go, and make people aware that this program exists so they can come in and have that advantage. Officer Hughes, I want to recognize, and Judge Neves, by my count, have been with us for 5 years, if you can imagine that. It's quite a task. They get here well before 4 and stay as long as it takes. And after a long day or night or early morning at work and then have to get up and face it the next morning, that is quite a community service to volunteer that way and come in just to grow new lawyers. So we are so much appreciative of them. I want to tell you a little bit about them. Officer Hughes is a peace officer in Nassau Bay. He's been in Nassau Bay serving that community since 1980. He is a master peace officer, and you may not know what that means, but look it up. It takes a lot of dedication, a lot of hours and training to become a certified or a licensed master peace officer. So we are very fortunate to have him. I can tell you, as a member of his direct community, he is out there every day making sure that our school children are safe. He follows the buses around, and I go running in the morning, and it's nice to know when I see those high schoolers in the wintertime, especially sitting out there in the dark, that Officer Hughes is there to make sure that that they're safe, sitting there at their bus stops, and make sure that those moms and dads don't get a little over anxious, over eager to get to work or whatever, driving around those school buses. So it can be a treacherous place in Nassau Bay on the roadway. So we very much appreciate his service. I'm sure he saved lives just helping with the school children in the morning. He has helped with the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo and been a volunteer since 1996. He is a Mason. He's been a member of the Clear Lake Masonic Lodge, number 1417, since 2001. And he serves in many capacities. He's in charge of court security with the city of Nassau Bay, and we very much been through all kinds of schooling in order to do that. And I can tell you, when I go to the court, I'm taking my shoes off, and he's checking me very thoroughly to make sure I'm not a threat to anybody, and it's probably a good thing. He had a couple of quotes. I hope I shall always possess firmness and virtue enough to maintain what I consider the most enviable of all titles, the character of an honest man. George Washington, President Washington said that, and that is a mantra in Officer Hughes' life. So that gives you a little bit of glimpse into his character. Now let me tell you a little bit about Judge Neves. Judge Neves is board certified,
and personal injury law, and look that up. I invite you to see what that means, what it takes to be board certified. And he has been since 1994, and you have to maintain that certification. One of the things he did in order to begin that certification, he has tried roughly 80 trials. Now that's as an advocate. That doesn't count the cases he's heard on the bench. And that is quite a career, okay? You get that as a prosecutor, you can go through 3 cases a week with, prosecuting little misdemeanor cases, but when you're talking about the level of a personal injury trial, you're talking about volumes and volumes of papers and volumes of lawyers on each side a lot of times. So 80 trials under his belt is quite remarkable. He's elected as the presiding judge of the 10th District Court and Judicial District Court of the state of Texas in Galveston County. He has been serving on that bench since 2012. And it is an elected office, and I'll tell you, you'll not find a finer judge in the state of Texas. I appear in front of him every week, and it's misting me up. It makes me proud to be a lawyer to be in his court. Before he became a lawyer, he served over 14 years on the city council for Dickinson, which ought to tell you just a little bit about his the servant part of him. He's very much like Officer Hughes, a public servant, and we're so fortunate to have him. He was in the United States Marine Corps and left the Marine Corps as a sergeant. Ladies and gentlemen, he served from 1969 to 1972, and I've told some of the legal study students this before. If you don't know what that means, look it up. That means something pretty special, and we're so grateful to him. He graduated from the University of Texas undergrad and the University of Texas Law School, and that means something too. He's supported our legal studies students in more ways than just presiding over this mock trial, but 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, for these 2 gentlemen. I ask you to acknowledge their service to us in support of this program. Thank you very much.
We have timekeeper?
We have timekeepers from each team, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, other than the defendant then, any witnesses who have been sworn will please need to wait outside until you are called to testify.
And follow me.
Other than the defendant. All right, at this time I'll call upon the state to read the indictment. Will the defendant please stand? Oh, we need to bring the jury in. I'm sorry. Please bring the jury in.
Just like, oh. Wait a minute. Oh. Yep.
Witnesses? I thought I saw 2 more witnesses.
One more. You just got one who went around the corner. You're just missing one.
Okay. You ready?
Please bring the jury in.
Sure. All right. Will the jury go ahead and put the badge in?
All right, the jury being present then, let's have the indictment read. Defendant will stand.
In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, the grand jurors for the county of Polk state aforesaid duly organized as such at the January term AD 2018 upon their oaths in said court present that Tracy Davis, on or about the 8th day of August 2018, and anterior to the presentment of this indictment in the county of Polk and the state of Texas, did then and there knowingly, intentionally, and recklessly caused bodily injury to Kelly Cole by striking said Kelly Cole with the defendant's hand, and the defendant did so, knowing that the said Kelly Cole was emergency services personnel, and that the said Kelly Cole was then and there providing emergency services to wit, assessing the defendant's medical condition for possible medical treatment against the peace and dignity of the state.
Thank you. Ms. Davis, you have heard the charges against you. How do you plead to those charges?
Not
All right, the plea of not guilty is accepted and entered. You may be seated. All right, brief opening from the prosecution.
Afternoon. Think back to a time when you were disrespected at work. Now think back to a time when you were cussed out at work. Alright, I've got a better one. Think back to a time when you were kicked at, cussed out, punched in the face, and given a busted lip at work. Now that may seem a little bit outside of regular work duties, but for Kelly Cole, our paramedic, this is a reality. Kelly Cole has always had a passion for helping people. She has, from a young age, been interested in helping. In high school, she was a trainer and she helped wrap the football players' injuries. And then she furthered that by spending hours and hours of her own time and thousands of her own dollars to go through the proper training required to help people. She's here for everyone in the community. On August 8th, 2018, she received a call as a paramedic. She responded swiftly and urgently. She arrived at the scene for a possible seizure. She checked the patient on the ground. She found no sign of a seizure as per her training. And after that, after stating that there was no sign, suddenly, the person on the ground decided that they were going to start cussing her out, kicking, punching. She was struck in the face with a closed fist while she was trying to do her job. Now, this is not okay. Our paramedics are here to help us. Our paramedics are here to ensure that we can all live safely. It's our duty to protect our paramedics as they protect us. If we stop protecting our paramedics, if they start being afraid to come to work, our society will not be the same as it is now. And it is important for all of us that we protect them. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Opening from the defense, or will you reserve? All right, you may proceed.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to remember a time whenever you were a little kid and you were so afraid to be taken away by the boogeyman. Well, this is a nightmare that Tracy Davis lived on August 8th, 2018. I want you to imagine, okay? Imagine with me. You're walking to this beautiful campus. It's a sunny day. The sun rays are hitting your face. The birds are chirping. And the next thing you know, you're laying on the floor, on a hard concrete floor. Your head is hurting. Your mouth is numb. You taste blood in your mouth. As you open your eyes, your vision is very blurred. And then you feel a cold hand holding you down. As anybody would, you would try to get away from the stranger holding you down, right? And then the next thing you know, everything was happening so fast. You wake up and you're in a cold white room, isolated, afraid, unaware of where you are. Later to find out you're in your jail cell. Today you're gonna hear from the jury that Tracy faked her seizure. But I want you to remember as we go through this trial that Tracy has suffered seizures ever since she was 2 years old. Something that takes over her body, controls her body. Also, you will hear from the state that she was aware of what she was doing. She was aware of her consequences. But I want you to remember as well that it takes up to 2 days to recollect and gain consciousness of what happened. You will also hear from the state that this was done recklessly. But I want you to remember that this was not an evil act. It is unfortunate that one of our public servants was injured in an encounter, but I want you to remember this was not an evil act. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Please call your first witness.
I'd like to call Kelly Cole.
Come right up here, please. Have a seat. I will remind you, you have been sworn. And you may proceed.
Can you please state your name for the record? Kelly Cole. Can you please state your occupation and place of employment for the jury? Ox City EMS. And the state? Texas. Do you know Tracy Davis? I do. How do you know her? Based on a call that I attended. Okay, if you saw her again, could you identify her? Yes, ma'am. Is she in this room today? She is. And could you point at her and describe to me what she is wearing? Black dress over in the corner. Thank you. Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witness has identified the ten.
The record will so reflect.
Can you please tell me how long you've been a paramedic? For 3 years, 3.5. And have you had any promotions at your job? I have. Okay. And what would that be? Promoted from paramedic 1 to paramedic 2 to be in charge on the truck. Thank you. Do you have any seizure-specific training or classes or training? We learned about seizures and how to treat them while going through our 2-year program. And we have specific protocols on what to do in the case of a seizure. Okay. And what might a specific protocol for a seizure be? So if the patient is actively having a seizure, we give certain medications. We protect the patient from harming themselves or us. And we try to control the seizure if it's medically necessary by sedating the patient. Okay, and what are the signs of a seizure? Tonic-clonic movements, which is convulsing of the body. When a patient's having a seizure, they're not responsive. They're also not breathing, and so the oxygen is being cut off to their brain. What is a good indicator that you have been trained to detect that a patient might be faking a seizure? If we arrive on scene and the patient is, as you say, faking a seizure, my first initial assessment is going to be a sternum rub, which is where I put my closed fist on the chest and rub the sternum. If they flinch or have any sort of movement in reaction to it, they're most likely faking it, because when you're having a seizure, you're not conscious to what's going on. And then there's also some, it's called capnography. You put them on a nasal cannula to get a reading to tell if they're actually breathing normal or not. And if they are, then they're most likely not having an epileptic seizure. Okay. And upon coming out of a seizure, what is the reaction of the patient? The patient's usually confused if it was a medical epileptic seizure.
They don't know what's going on because of the said oxygen cutoff to the brain.
Okay, would you expect your patient to immediately be aggressive?
Immediately, sometimes it depends on the patient.
Okay. How do patients typically act in the postictal state?
Postictal, they can be very tired because their body just got a full body workout basically. They can be very exhausted. Sometimes, depending on the way that they recover from their seizures, they can be aggressive or combative.
And can you please define postictal for the jury?
Postictal is going to be a phase after a patient has an epileptic seizure that the patient is confused. It depends on the patient, but usually once you get them on oxygen, you get oxygen going back to their brain. Sometimes it can take a couple of minutes, sometimes it can take up to 20 or 30. Just depends on how everyone recovers personally.
Okay. Do you remember what occurred on August 8th of 2008?
I do.
And what did that do?
I was dispatched to a call at 2700 Bay Area for a patient possibly having a seizure. I arrived on scene and an officer was already on scene. The patient was lying on the ground, appeared to be unresponsive. I went up to assess the patient, and as I said, I did my sternum rub, and the patient was reactive to me. The officer was there to restrain her because she started getting a little combative, kicking and waving her arms. The officer tried to hold one arm back for me for her own safety and mine, and as he was going to grab the other arm, her arm swung forward and busted my lip when the fist made contact with my face.
Okay, so you're saying that the patient hit you in the face with a closed fist?
Yes, ma'am.
And you did a sternum rub and the patient was reactive?
Yes, ma'am.
And as you described earlier, during the postictal state, oxygen is returning to the brain, which you said may cause them to be slower?
Slower to come to, slower to know what's going on.
So is it your opinion that someone coming out of a seizure would not immediately punch you?
If it was an epileptic seizure, it's hard to say. It's going to be based on patients, how they respond after they have seizures. But if a patient is having what's called a pseudo-seizure, then I would expect them to act differently.
And what is a pseudo-seizure?
A pseudo-seizure is different than an epileptic seizure. Epileptic seizures are medical. Pseudo-seizures are usually psychological. The patient has some sort of emotional stress or mental issues going on, and it's not, it's considered a non-epileptic seizure. They are convincing themselves that they're having a seizure. In layman's term, they're faking it.
So would you say that a patient who is undergoing a pseudo-seizure would respond during the sternum test?
Yes.
And you said earlier that Tracy Davis did in fact respond during the sternum test?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Did Tracy Davis coherently say anything to you during your assessment?
When I was trying to assess her, she began yelling and screaming when she was kicking and waving her arms and calling me names while cussing.
Okay, and would you say that she was speaking clearly at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
So you would say that she was conscious and not having a seizure during the time that she struck you?
Correct.
What is your safety protocol when a violent situation occurs?
usually we will have officers respond first, just because our safety is number one priority, and there was an officer on scene, who I thought had it under control, but the patient became more aggressive and that changed once I was there.
Objection, Your Honor. She's not an expert witness. She can't determine whether the seizure was fake or not.
I don't believe that was questioned on the floor. Overruled.
So you said that after Tracy Davis became violent, the officer had to restrain her for her own safety and for your own safety?
Correct.
Okay. Can you describe your injury as the result of this incident?
I had, on my left side of my mouth, I had redness around my lip and a busted lip, which was bleeding on scene.
Do you have any personal conditions which might make bleeding dangerous to you?
I do.
And what would that be?
I have a bleeding disorder called von Willebrand's disease. It's a factor VIII, uncontrolled bleeding.
Objection irrelevant.
What's the relevance of it, her prior or other condition? I'm asking.
Your Honor, I believe that the defendant should take her as she is, and it would be reckless to cause injury to anyone, not knowing that they might have a disease or some sort of ailment that might cause the injury to.
All right, just for the proper context of it, I'll allow that question, but let's not dwell on that. That has nothing to do with whether the defendant did what she did in a reckless fashion.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, you may proceed.
I'll pass the witness.
Cross?
Yes, sir. When are your tasks considered completed upon responding to a call?
Once the patient is either dropped off at a hospital or taken over custody by somebody else.
In your 3.5 years of experience, have you handled any seizures before?
Yes, sir.
Can you say how many?
I can't give you an exact number, but
Were any of these other seizures considered arresting?
some of them, yes.
How did you handle those arresting ones?
We would have PD on scene for our safety, and then if need be, to give sedation medications, like I mentioned earlier, to stop the seizure activity.
Is that similar to how you handled Ms. Tracy Davis' seizure?
She was not seizing when I was on scene. I did not witness actual movements. And so, no, I did not give her any medications to sedate her.
Now, isn't it true that on August 8th, 2018, you responded to a call made by someone who believed Tracy Davis was in fact having a seizure?
Correct.
Isn't it true that Ms. Tracy Davis' eyes were rolled back?
They were closed.
And also when responding to a call, isn't it also true that your safety is prioritized over the patient's?
Correct.
Do you know how many types of seizures there are?
How many types of seizures? Off the top of my head, there's 3 or 4 different types.
Are you experienced in working with all those different types of seizures?
I've not witnessed all of them personally, no.
And how long did you say the post-ictal state lasts?
It depends on the patient.
Do you remember how long it lasted for Ms. Tracy Davis?
If she had had a tonic-clonic seizure and it not be a pseudo seizure, when I arrived on scene, I believe she was out of the post-ictal phase.
upon your assessment of your sternum rub, as you said, on Miss Tracy Davis, you said she was immediately aggressive. Is that true?
Not after the sternum rub, no. She was reactive to my sternum rub.
You also said there are some patients that you only attend when it's medically necessary. Did you determine that Tracy Davis was medically necessary to be attended to by yourself?
That she was medically necessary to be attended to. When I get dispatched to a call, even if I don't feel it's medically necessary, I assess my patient, no matter what.
No further questions, John.
Anything on redirect?
Yes.
All right, you may proceed.
So, just to be clear, when did Tracy Davis become responsive and open her eyes?
After I performed the sternum rub, she reacted to it and then became more aggressive once I was trying to obtain vital signs on her.
Okay. And at that time, she had become conscious?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, may I proceed?
You may.
This is State Exhibit number 1 to be marked for identification only. Do you recognize this?
I do.
And how do you recognize it?
That's me.
Okay. Without telling me, well, you've already said kind of the contents. Can you tell me a little bit more of the contents of the picture?
That's me post my call that I attended on April 8th. I'm sorry, excuse me, 8/8/18.
Okay. Your Honor, I tender State Exhibit number 1 to the defense counsel for any objection and offer new to evidence. I'll object.
No objection. All right, State's Exhibit 1 will be admitted.
May I approach the witness again?
You may.
Okay. This is State Exhibit number 2 to be marked for identification only. Do you recognize this photo?
I do.
Okay, without telling me the specific contents, what is in the photo?
It is me after the same call.
Okay. Your Honor, I tender your State Exhibit number 2 for identification to the defense counsel for any objection and offer it into evidence. I'll object.
State's Exhibit 2 will be admitted.
Okay. Ms. Cole, when was this photograph taken?
Immediately following Miss Davis being taken to jail the day of the call.
Okay, and what was the cause of the injury in this photograph?
The close fist to my face during the evaluation of the patient by Miss Davis.
Okay, so Miss Davis was conscious enough to close her fist and strike you in the face during the time that you were hurt.
Correct.
While speaking to you. While speaking to you?
Objection to statement of the record.
What's the mistake?
The narrative does not specify the interaction.
All right, rephrase the question.
So at the occurrence of your injury, Tracy Davis was conscious, correct?
Yes.
And she was speaking, correct?
Yelling, but yes.
She was yelling.
Objection to statement of the record, it can't identify whether the patient, Tracy was conscious or not.
She's testifying from her observations, what she physically saw over.
Thank you, Your Honor.
objection, it was argumentative.
I didn't hear you guys speak up. What was the comment?
I said no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, anything further?
Objection, argumentative, it doesn't say specifically that she was punched.
Anything on recross?
Yes, Your Honor. As you said, Tracy Davis' eyes were closed during your assessment, is that correct?
Upon arrival, yes.
Is it true, common sign of seizures are eyes roll back?
Can't be, yes. But her eyes were closed, so I couldn't tell if her eyes were open or not.
So is it true that there could be a possibility that she was in fact having a seizure had she had her eyes open and you would have seen her eyes indeed roll back to your head?
Could she have had one prior to my arrival? Yes.
No further questions.
All right, anything further? Anything further from this witness?
No further questions.
All right, may the witness be excused. All right, ma'am, you may step down. Thank you very much. Please call your next witness.
State calls Officer Eli Ryan.
Officer, come right up here, please. Have a seat, make yourself comfortable. I will remind you you're on your oath. Yes, sir. And you may proceed.
Please state your name for the record.
Officer Eli.
Can you please state your occupation and place of employment for the jury, please?
I'm a police officer with the Hawk Police Department,
In what state?
Texas.
Do you know Tracy Davis?
Yes, I do.
How do you know her?
Through an incident that occurred on August 8th, 2018.
If you saw her again, could you identify her?
Yes, ma'am.
Is she in this courtroom today?
Yes, ma'am, she is.
Could you point at her and describe to me what she's wearing, please?
Yes, ma'am. She's sitting over there in the corner wearing a black dress with a white stripe at the bottom.
Thank you. Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
Your record will so reflect.
Thank you. Can you please tell me how long you've been a police officer?
I've been a police officer for 2 years.
And can you tell the court a little bit about what your job entails?
My job entails providing public service, responding to calls for emergencies, as well as suppressing crime.
And are you as a police officer required to make any after-action report when called out to a scene?
Yes, ma'am.
If so, I'm sorry, what are these reports called?
Case reports?
Did you make one for this specific case?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
I'm gonna go ahead and ask you a question, I'm sorry. If you were given the chance to look over this office report to refresh your memory, could you answer a few questions in regard to it?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Do you feel like you need to read over the?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Officer Eli, I am presenting to you the chronology of facts, based on what you saw that day. I will give you a chance to look over them. Please let me know when you're ready.
No, I'm ready.
Officer Eli, can you please tell me the date that you were called out to respond to this call?
Yes, ma'am. It was on August 8th, 2018.
And can you tell me why you were being dispatched to the scene?
I was being dispatched to the scene for a medical emergency.
Can you give me a little bit of an idea of what you saw when you arrived at the scene?
When I arrived on scene, I saw Officer Jones attempting to restrain an individual that was later identified as Tracy Davis.
describe a little bit about what her behavior was like whenever you saw her?
It was very aggressive and erratic. She was twisting and pulling away from the officer.
And you mentioned that you assisted the other officer, Officer Jones, to arrest Tracy Davis, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I was able to secure her in handcuffs while Officer Jones held her arms.
Okay, and at that point, was she still being aggressive?
She wasn't being aggressive at that time. We were able to set her up into a sitting position.
Okay. Was she speaking at all at any point?
I didn't hear her speaking at that time. No, ma'am.
When you were arriving to the Hawk City Jail, can you tell me what Tracy Davis was like?
She was very aggressive, became very threatening towards me and stated that she wanted to kill me.
Objection, Your Honor. The statement of the record, narrative does not specify the interaction of being threatened. Saying
How's the witness, Your Honor?
Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Officer Eli, isn't it true that you were called onto the scene for a possible epileptic seizure?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
I move to strike the last question, sir,
Any response?
of the motion of limine.
Which motion, what part of the motion in limine deals with, what are you referring to?
Part 4.
Your Honor, will we approach the bench?
It was granted, looks like by another judge. What is your response to what the defense is saying in terms of objection?
What the officer responded to was relevant to what?
The statement was after the fact.
All right, well, your motion to strike is denied. Your objection to the statement is granted. Let's move on.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, may the witness be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you're free to go, sir. Thank you very much. And call your next witness.
Your Honor, 10-minute break.
We only have the 3, the 2.
Oh, sorry. I was out of order.
All right, then we'll take a 10-minute break.
I thought you were omnipotent.
Yeah, he did.
Let me see you go.
or realty?
He's okay. Y'all need to ask your witnesses. All right? You can do that on the break. You can do it on the break because everybody's here after. Just ask the judge if he'll hear it. Okay.
Any objections to the prosecution witnesses being accused? All right, then they may leave.
Do you need that last one?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the officer. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Whoever.
I'll be right back. There's a 2-minute break. Y'all need to stand up.
Got about 5 more minutes left on your break. 5 minutes. Okay, the rest of the 5 minutes, please come back promptly.
We're taking a break. Okay.
You want me to go get it?
I was just curious if y'all
I-
carry them. I never thought.
No, I personally carry because I'm allergic to these things. And I go camping a lot, so I always carry them.
I heard Troy goes camping a lot.
Yeah.
Now we know everything is their instructions, huh?
What did you say it was? The band? Just fine.
How's the volume?
Are you at 72 hours?
Yeah, it's 72 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to speak up.
I don't, I'm can't really monitor it. Seems like the game setup, so the same was fine. I can.
No, you're not loud enough. You just wanna let none of y'all speak up. And remember,
It's gonna be easier.
you have to get the job, your stuff with us. You can't.
And I can get back to work.
Or examine that or reject. Go ahead, when you want to bring it back to court. They can
Because
reject.
I'm the only one that works from
Okay.
1 to
But if they
4.
would reject, it's just that.
Okay.
So that's okay, this is how you learn, this is exactly how you learn it. And people do that. And then you forget.
Yeah.
So, it's just an opportunity to avoid that.
Yeah.
All four of you are very natural. Good job. You get a match in a minute. He's almost always gonna let him go. Where he helps you is, yes. And you don't even really have to mention it. So some things you just kind of let, you just let rise, you know what I mean? But that was.
I just almost died when we handed over.
Yeah, that's so true.
All right, we are back on the record. The defendant is present. Does the state have any additional evidence or testimony?
I'm sorry, Your Honor?
Do you have any additional testimony?
No, no, Your Honor.
Does the state rest?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Defense, have any witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to call Dr. Caroline Brooks.
Doctor?
Have you previously been sworn?
Yes.
Oh, wait, then please take a seat. All right, and you may proceed.
What is your full legal name?
Carolyn Huerta,
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a neurologist.
What are some typical duties that neurologists take care of?
I study,
All right, maybe you're gonna need to speak up nice and loud, not only so that I can hear, but so that those folks over there can hear. We need to hear your testimony.
a neurologist studies, treats, and diagnoses those with brain disorders and abnormalities.
Are seizures a part of your expertise?
Yes,
Does this include epileptic seizures?
yes,
Have you worked with epileptic patients before?
Yes,
About how long does an average epileptic seizure last?
about usually 1 to 3 minutes.
Do these seizures induce pain?
I'm sorry,
Do these seizures induce pain?
can you reword that?
Does the person enduring the seizure deal with pain during the seizure?
No, not during.
Do they deal with pain after the seizure?
They can, yes.
Is one aware of their surroundings during an epileptic seizure?
No,
Is one in control of their body during an epileptic seizure?
no.
Is one in control of their body after an epileptic seizure?
Depending on if they're able to regain consciousness.
How much time until a person regains consciousness after a seizure?
It depends on the severity of the seizure. Typically, it could be right after, or it could even take days.
After regaining awareness, is a person completely 100% aware of his or her surroundings, or is it kind of blurry?
Blurry.
Can the seizure be aggravated or influenced in any way if the person enduring the seizure is handled by a third party?
Yes.
Can somebody fake a seizure?
Not that I know.
Could you tell if a seizure is fake or real simply by looking at the person having the seizure?
No.
Could you tell if a seizure is fake or real by handling the person?
No.
How do you know if someone is having or has had a seizure?
Can you repeat the question?
How can you tell if somebody is having or has had a seizure?
You can't really tell. Right, then I'm wrong.
Is there a process afterwards that allows you to tell if this person had a seizure?
Yes, they would have to go through multiple brain examinations.
Is it possible for a person to cuss, swear, or be verbal in any way during their seizure?
Yes.
Does this include after the seizure where things are still blurry to them?
Yes.
A person wouldn't know that they're being verbal or swearing during a seizure.
They wouldn't know.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Anything on cross-examination?
Yes, ma'am. Doctor, how do you know if a patient is in a post-ictal or inter-ictal state?
I'm sorry, can you reword that question?
How do you know if a patient is in a post-ictal or inter-ictal state?
I'm sorry, I don't understand that question.
You mentioned you're a doctor, but you don't know what a post-ictal or inter-ictal state what it is.
Objection or argumentative.
Were you there to observe the behavior of Tracy Davis at the time of this incident?
No.
Were you there to observe any of her current physical state at that time?
I know.
Correct, Your Honor, that's irrelevant. Dr. Barnes has an expert opinion. She doesn't have to be aware of Tracy Davis's condition on August 8th.
But you're correct, but it is cross-examination, and that is something that the state may point out, that she has not physically treated or seen the defendant, supposedly.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you have any data in observance of Tracy Davis's post-ictal or inter-ictal state at the time of the occurrence?
No.
Doctor, would you say that someone who is speaking coherently and hit someone in the face with a closed fist would have a goal-directed behavior? And goal-directed behavior as a meaning that is something that you have to consciously think about to do.
Can you say that question again?
Yes. Would you say that someone who is speaking coherently and hit someone in the face with a closed fist would have goal-directed behavior? And by goal-
Objection, Your Honor. That's off the state question.
goal-directed behavior as in meaning that it's something that you have to consciously think about to do?
When it comes to seizures, you don't necessarily have control of your body.
So would you say that
It could be unconsciously, your body.
would you consider that goal-directed behavior though?
No.
And you as a doctor, if you have a patient that has a known vicious behavior when it comes to having seizures, do you give any sort of recommendation in regard to preventing the harm of others around them?
Yes, don't restrain them. You have to let them ride it out because their body will flail, their body will jerk, and anything.
That's not the question. Yes, ma'am.
Question.
If you have a patient that has known vicious behavior when it comes to having seizures, do you give any sort of recommendation in regard to preventing the harm of others around them?
Yes.
Yes. Is it safe to say that the recommendation should be mirrored when it comes to the patient going out in public?
Can you reword that statement? No.
Is it safe to say that the recommendation you gave should be mirrored when it comes to the patient going out in public?
Yes.
And going back to the goal-directed behavior, would you not consider making a fist and punching someone in the face goal-directed?
Judge, that question's already been
Can you repeat that question, please?
Yes. Would you consider making a fist and punching someone in the face goal-directed?
When it comes to seizures, no.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Anything on redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. This state of post-seizure that patients who have seizures are put into, how long does this typically last?
I'm sorry.
The post-ictal state where they're slowly regaining their consciousness and their senses, how long does this typically last?
It can take days for them to regain that consciousness.
What is a condition of a person's eyesight after a seizure?
It can be blurry.
What about their sense of feel?
Objection, Your Honor, relevant to the eyesight.
What's relevant?
Tracy Davis has to see the EMT in order to know who she's hitting.
But, so, she has to check to see if the person that they're hitting is an EMT and not some person. Oh, sorry, yes. So, she has to see if the person that they're hitting is a EMT and not just a person.
I don't see what overrule. Rule.
Moving on to sense of hearing, can the person after a seizure know, can this person make out any words being said or any instructions or demand out of the seizure?
Clearly, no.
What would you recommend as a neurologist someone do when someone is having a seizure and appears to be aggressive?
Let them ride it out. Don't restrain them.
What can restraining do to the person having a seizure?
It can make their body react to that restraint, meaning the whole flail, jerking motions.
Can this invite any injuries to the person having a seizure?
Definitely.
Possibly, sir.
All right, anything on cross, free cross?
Yes, Your Honor. Doctor, you said that an epileptic seizure lasts 1 to 3 minutes. Isn't it true when a patient has regained consciousness, they are in control of their body?
Not completely.
That was a yes or no question. Isn't it true that when a patient has regained consciousness, they are in control of their body?
No.
That's what you stated earlier.
Can you reword that sentence, please?
So, You were saying that when somebody has an epileptic seizure, that you recommend to the patient and to those around them to not restrain the patient. Yes. Even if that means that the person that's having the seizure has become a danger to those around her. Yes.
Your Honor, Ms. Davis was not a danger to those around her when she was approached.
Sorry?
Ms. Davis was not a danger to others until she was approached.
It's not an established fact, that's why we're here.
Yes.
Overruled.
So, even if that person's being a danger to those around them, you say to not restrain them. Yes. So it is okay to become a danger and potentially hurt somebody physically if you're having a seizure. Is that okay?
Your Honor, that's argumentative.
It's cross-examination though, so I'll overrule.
So if somebody's becoming aggressive to those around her or them and potentially could cause physical harm to somebody, it's okay to not restrain them.
When it comes to someone possibly having a seizure,
Well, in general, I mean, if somebody is becoming a harm to me or you or anybody in this room, you would say to just let them keep causing harm. Or
Your Honor, that's
potentially
also
cause harm.
Overruled.
No. Council Witness, Your Honor.
Anything further?
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, may this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you're free to go. Thank you very much. Please call your next witness.
Call Tracy Davis.
Ms. Davis, please come up and take a stand. We'll remind you you are under oath. And you may proceed.
Can you state your legal name to the jury?
Tracy Davis.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a full-time student.
Where do you go to school?
I go to University of Houston, Bailey.
What are you studying?
I'm studying legal studies with a minor in women and gender studies.
What days are you at school?
I'm at school Monday through Thursdays.
Are there any day-to-day encounters that make certain things hard to accomplish?
With having epilepsy, things like if I'm driving to school, if it's dark outside, if there is an ambulance or a police car passing with flashing lights, my seizures are triggered by strobe lights, also by strenuous activity and high levels of stress.
What kind of seizures do you have?
I have grand mal seizures.
How do you know that you had a seizure?
I know if I had a seizure in my sleep if I wake up in a different position than what I fell asleep in, or if I wake up on the floor and my mouth is full of blood and I have a very bad headache. If it's a seizure while I was conscious and then I fell unconscious, it's when I wake up the next day or later that night, but everything's very fuzzy, everything's blurry, and I have no memory of what happened the same day or even the day before.
Okay, so what is the first sense that you gain after experiencing a seizure?
The very first sense that I gain back, it comes in like different periods. So the very first one is touch. I can feel touch in my body. I can feel when somebody's touching me.
Have you been diagnosed by a neurologist?
I was diagnosed with epilepsy when I was 18 months old.
Have you been prescribed medication for your seizures?
I take Dilantin. I've taken that since I was 8 years old, and I take it every single night, 300 milligrams per night.
What are the side effects of your medication?
Some side effects include minor things such as drowsiness, dizziness. Some bigger side effects are if I were to become pregnant, I would have birth defects for my child.
How reoccurring are your seizures?
My seizures can come if I skip my medication or if they're triggered by either strobe lights, stress, strenuous activity, anything along those lines, or sometimes they just happen on their own as an indication of low medication levels, and that's when I know I need to go back to the neurologist and get a new blood test.
How reoccurring are your seizures?
They can happen very often. They can happen multiple times a week, multiple times a month, a year. It just depends.
family history of seizures?
Yes, it runs on my dad's side of the family, so my grandmother has it, my dad has it, and my sister has it.
Okay, what are the post side effects to your seizures that you know of?
Post side effects are confusion, dizziness, drowsiness, and aching all over my body, headache, and a really bitten tongue.
Do you know how long these side effects last up to?
For my types of seizures, these can last the whole day, multiple days, and then the side effects with the aches and the headaches, those can last for about a week.
During a typical seizure, who do you like to be surrounded by?
I personally like to be left alone. If there's anybody with me, I would prefer that it would be my immediate family, my mom, my dad, but even then, it takes me a while to recognize them when I first wake up, so I just prefer to be left on my own.
So how long does it take for you to recognize somebody, like your mom?
With my mom, I prefer that she just sit close by me, because if she were to touch me, I don't know exactly who she is yet. When I open my eyes, it's a little bit blurry. I can hear her. It'll take maybe 30 minutes to an hour to fully recognize her.
So in your post-ictal state, how long does it take to regain full consciousness?
Full consciousness, I say, would come maybe a good 8 to 24 hours later, and full being defined as knowing where I am, knowing what has happened, and knowing who I'm with.
Do you remember what your plans were for August 8, 2018?
I don't remember much about that day. It's very, very fuzzy. If I think really hard about it, I can remember waking up that morning, brushing my teeth, small things like that.
Irrelevance, Your Honor. What are her plans for the day matter?
It's contextual, overruled.
Pass the witness.
Cross.
Yes, sir.
What is the purpose of the medication?
Anticonvulsants.
And what exactly does it mean?
It prevents seizures.
Okay, so have you taken your seizure medication prior to this?
I can't remember.
Can't remember. Would you say that it is your responsibility to make sure that you take your medication?
I think that it is important that I do take my medication, but like everybody, sometimes I forget.
Okay, are you often violent after seizures?
I don't know because I'm unconscious.
Has anybody ever told you that you acted violently after a previous seizure?
I don't typically hear from anybody besides my family, and they're not usually with me during the seizure, just after.
So, to get this straight, you're saying nobody that you know has ever given you input on your behavior after a seizure?
Nobody that I know has ever been around me after a seizure or during a seizure.
Isn't it true that you said you've been having seizures since you were an infant?
Yes.
But there's no one who's told you your behavior after a seizure in all of that time?
My seizures usually happen in my sleep or in public settings.
Okay, if your seizures happen in a public setting, how is it possible that no one has been able to tell you how you react afterwards?
Because usually they're surrounded by strangers.
Ever since you were a baby?
Well, when I was a baby, I wasn't able to ask that question.
But this is a big part of your life, correct?
Yes.
So you've dealt with this your entire life and you've never figured out what your behavior might be afterward?
To be completely honest,
Objection, argumentative.
Overruled. Cross-examination.
I try not to dwell on what happens during my seizures, just on preventative measures to stop them from happening again.
Okay, but if a seizure could cause violence and you're prescribed medication, that can prevent your seizures, isn't it true that it would be your responsibility for the protection of others to know whether you had taken your medicine or not?
But the thing is
That
that,
was a yes or no question.
no,
And why is that?
because some days, well, that particular day, I don't remember if I took it or not.
So knowing now, since, I'm sorry, like to shut can you please say what your age is?
20.
20. Okay, thank you. So you've had almost 20 years of seizure experience, and no one has attested that you're violent afterward.
Not that I know of.
Objection, asked to be answered.
It's already been answered. Over.
Thank you.
All right, anything further?
Yes, Your Honor. Did you have a seizure on August 8, 2018?
Yes,
How do you know you did?
because of the signs that I had after my tongue was bitten, I was unconscious, I woke up, and it's the exact same symptoms that I have after every single seizure that I've had in my life.
Were you aware of anything that happened on August 8, 2018?
Not fully. There's just little pieces of memories that come and go, but they're all that very like morning of it or that night when I was trying to recover from it.
How long have you had seizures for?
Since I was 18 months old.
Have you been diagnosed by a neurologist?
Yes.
What is your vision like after you experience a seizure?
It comes back very slowly and it comes back very blurry, so I can't really see anything until a long time after.
Pass the witness.
Anything further?
Yes, Your Honor. Didn't you testify earlier that you had family by you during a seizure?
I prefer to have them by me after the seizure.
So if your family is by you after the seizure, they have not been able to witness how you behave after the seizure?
They witness how I behave when they leave me alone, not when I'm being restrained by strangers.
Didn't you say that you didn't recognize people after a seizure?
Yes, immediately after a seizure, I don't recognize people.
So how would you know if it was people that was your family or people that you didn't recognize?
If you're being restrained, period, it's symptom to a mode of panic, especially if you don't have any of your senses. So even if it was my family, I still would have probably acted with an immense amount of panic.
Do you have any experience being restrained after a seizure?
I do not until August 8th.
But I thought you didn't remember what happened on August 8th.
I don't, but that's a police report.
So you said your medication earlier protects you from having seizures. Does that medication make it safe to drive?
It does.
Objection irrelevant. I'm going somewhere with this.
Well, she's already answered the question, so, overruled.
So it does, okay. So if you had not taken your medication, would you say that it was unsafe and could be harmful to other people for you to drive a vehicle and possibly pass an
Your Honor,
ambulance?
personal opinion.
Well, as stated, then overruled.
Okay, so if you had omitted taking your medication, could it be dangerous for you to drive in the event that maybe you would pass an ambulance or something that could trigger a seizure?
Objection irrelevant.
Consistent.
medication protects you from having seizures, would it be irresponsible to not take your medication
No.
and drive the vehicle?
Objection, asked and answered.
So would it be irresponsible to forget your medication and still drive?
No.
And why is that?
Because my medication is intended to prevent seizures, but it's only unsafe to drive after a seizure. Once it's proven that you had a seizure, you cannot be operating a motor vehicle for 6 months to 1 year after.
But didn't you just say you had sometimes multiple seizures a week?
Yes. But I
But you
didn't
also
drive
said that
them.
you can drive.
I never stated that I can drive.
Okay.
Objection, the statement of the record to what is the witness.
Oops.
Isn't it true that taking your medication could be useful for the safety of yourself and others?
That's its intended purpose.
So aren't grandma seizures violent?
They're not violent.
Objection, she's not an expert witness.
She has seizures.
To the extent, again, I trust the court, not one or nothing. To the extent that she is someone who has this condition, I'll allow her to testify what she knows of from personal experience.
So aren't grandma seizures violent?
They're not, they're violent to your own body. Like they're, the best way I know how to describe them is they're very scary.
Has witness.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you made the witness speak, well, she's a defendant, so she's gonna be here for the rest of the trial. All right, ma'am, you may join your counsel. All right, any further evidence or testimony from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Does the defense rest?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, do you have a motion?
Motion for the verdict.
Okay, then we will ask the jury to step out for a few moments. Take a 2-minute break, come on back, and we will go to closing arguments. All right, Ms. Gutierrez. Stick with the microphone so we can get it all recorded here. All right, you may proceed.
Your Honor, the state failed to prove a reasonable doubt as to client proven intention, that she did this intentionally. They also failed to prove the client knew person was a public servant at the time of the encounter.
On from the station.
Sorry. Your Honor, the paramedic saw the sign of a seizure and therefore there's no reason to believe that the defendant was not able to try to move around them at the time of this particular incident. Additionally,
State failed to prove client person knew was a public servant at the time of the encounter. State failed to prove a reasonable doubt as to client did this intentionally.
we would like to also prove that it was reckless. Can you repeat the second? recklessly, intentionally, or knowingly, and it is very clearly reckless.
Your Honor, if the defendant testified that she's not aware of her surroundings or who are whenever they're having a seizure, that she wouldn't have known they were a public servant even if they had identified themselves according to her statement.
All right, the test is whether there is a scintilla of evidence for the jury to consider. I believe that the testimony of Ms. Cole has given us enough of that. It is a close call, but I think it is there. So the motion for directed verdict will be denied. Anything further from the defense? All right, then we'll take a quick break and go to closing arguments.
All right.
Are we ready for the jury?
No.
Y'all ready?
No, it's your break.
Did you take a break? Okay.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
done like the way it's medication. They got that shot now for people with schizophrenia. It's good for a month. And it's good, but it creates, eating problems, elbow stuff like that. And he did stuff like that, so he stuff like that.
Oh, yes. I know how much it costs for some cheap, and they just need some, it's some, get an appointment, and get, they don't have so, no, a lot of these people, probably the guy you were talking about.
No, he isn't.
But that other guy, the one you encountered.
His dad has a company. It's kind of a bad deal. It's feel for the guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's not.
I might go and watch that.
And that's what, I think that's the thing. We'll get there, but we're not in this intense conversations like this.
Are you ready for the trial? Are we ready? All right, please bring the jury in. Please be seated. All right, folks, you've now heard all the evidence you're going to hear in this case. At this time, I will read to you the charge of the court. Please listen carefully as I do that. It contains a number of definitions and instructions. Don't be daunted by that. You will have the original when you go back to deliberate. That will give you a sense, though, of what the attorneys will be arguing to you when they ask you to rule on this case. Cause number 18 CR 9711, State of Texas versus Tracy Davis. Charge of the court, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. The defendant, Tracy Davis, stands charged by indictment with the offense of assault on emergency services personnel alleged to have been committed on or about the 8th day of August, AD 2018 in Hawk County, Texas. To this charge, the defendant has pleaded not guilty. Our law provides that a person commits the offense of assault if he intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly causes bodily injury to another. Such assault is against emergency services personnel when committed against a person the actor knows is emergency services personnel while the person is providing emergency services. A public servant means a person elected, selected, appointed, employed, or otherwise designated as an officer, employee, or agent of the government. The actor is presumed to have known the person assaulted was emergency medical personnel if the person was wearing a distinctive uniform or badge indicating the person's employment as emergency personnel. Bodily injury means physical pain, illness, or any impairment of physical condition. A person acts intentionally or with intent with respect to the nature of his conduct or to a result of his conduct when it is his conscious objective or desire to engage in the conduct or cause the result. A person acts knowingly or with knowledge with respect to the nature of his conduct or to circumstances surrounding his conduct when he's aware of the nature of his conduct or that the circumstances exist. A person acts knowingly or with knowledge with respect to a result of his conduct when he is aware that his conduct is reasonably certain to cause the result. A person acts recklessly or is reckless with respect to circumstances surrounding his conduct or the result of his conduct when he is aware of but consciously disregards a substantial and unjustifiable risk that the circumstances exist or the result will occur. The risk must be of such a nature and degree that its disregard constitutes a gross deviation from the standard of care that an ordinary person would exercise under all the circumstances as viewed from the actor's standpoint. Now, if you believe from the evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that on or about the 8th day of August, AD 2018, in Hawk County, Texas, the defendant, Tracy Davis, did then and there intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly cause bodily injury to Kelly Cole by striking the said Kelly Cole with defendant's hand, and the defendant did then and there know that the said Kelly Cole was then and there emergency services personnel, and that the said Kelly Cole was then and there lawfully providing emergency services, to wit, assisting defendant's medical condition for possible medical treatment, then you will find the defendant guilty as charged in the indictment. But if you do not so find, or if you have a reasonable doubt thereof, you will find the defendant not guilty. The prosecution has the burden of proving the defendant guilty, and it must do so by proving each and every element of the offense charged beyond a reasonable doubt. And if it fails to do so, you must acquit the defendant. It is not required that the prosecution prove guilt beyond all possible doubt. It is required that the prosecution's proof excludes all reasonable doubt concerning the defendant's guilt. If you have a reasonable doubt as to the defendant's guilt, after considering all the evidence before you and these instructions, you will acquit her and say by your verdict, not guilty. You are the exclusive judges of the facts proved, of the credibility of the witnesses, and of the weight to be given their testimony, but the law you must be governed by, you shall receive in these written instructions. After you retire to the jury room, you should select one of your members as your foreperson. It is his or her duty to preside at your deliberations, vote with you, and when you have unanimously agreed upon a verdict, to certify to your verdict by using the appropriate form attached hereto and signing the same as foreperson. Your sole duty at this time is to determine the guilt or innocence of the defendant under the indictment in this case, and restrict your deliberations solely to the issue of guilt or innocence of the defendant. Following the arguments of counsel, you will retire to consider your verdict. Suitable forms for your verdict are hereto attached. Your verdict must, must be in writing and signed by your foreperson. Attached to it, the charge is a verdict form. You have two choices. We, the jury, find the defendant, Tracy Davis, guilty of the offense of assault on emergency services personnel as alleged in the indictment, and there is a line for your foreperson to sign. Below that, we, the jury, find the defendant, Tracy Davis, not guilty, and there is a line for your foreperson to sign. All right, as I said, you will have this with you when you go back to deliberate. Your duty at this time is to consider only the guilt or innocence. The state has the burden of proof, so they will go first in the closing arguments, and then they will have an opportunity to rebut. I'll recognize the state for closing arguments.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the main reason we are here today is because of the physical and mental anguish that was caused to Mrs. Cole by Tracy Davis. The facts are simple. Mrs. Cole arrived at the scene, identified herself to Miss Tracy Davis, and she started assessing her medical condition. At that point, she determined that she was not having a seizure based on her knowledge. Tracy Davis then became aggressive. She was speaking coherently. She was cussing out the paramedic. Then Tracy Davis went, closed her fist, and struck Mrs. Cole in the face.
All right, recognize the defense. You may.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I invite you all to consider all the information that has been presented to you today. Let us place our eyes in the eyes of a college student. Perhaps you know what it's like to be a college student. Or maybe you know of a peer, or a friend, or some method or another, you're familiar with what it takes and what it costs to live the life of a college student. Ambition, excitement, stress, deadlines, lack of sleep, most likely, financial stability. These are all traits and characteristics that come with the territory of being a college student. Now imagine how this student sees these traits and these characteristics that she must take on with a mental disorder. Imagine this disorder acts as a filter over her eyes. And now how blurry and foggy this filter makes not only school itself, but every aspect in life. For a second, let us step back away from these set of eyes that I've asked you to look through. And look through your own eyes. Look at life itself and form an opinion on it. And now, let us go back to these set of eyes. Place this filter over these eyes. And look at life itself again. I would like you all to compare what you first saw and first believed to what you saw after I asked you to look through this filter. Think of how blurry and foggy it became once you put this filter over your eyes. How blurry and foggy life became. Everything you must do has now been placed with an obstacle in front of it because of this disorder known as epilepsy. This student that we are looking through is Tracy Davis. She has come before you today, and she explained the challenges that she faces on a day-to-day basis since the age of 2. She came and explained to you that she can't even recognize her own mother when she has these seizures, during and after. You were told today by the state that Tracy's hand made contact with EMT Kelly Cole. Now please allow me to restate that. Tracy Davis's hand, her hand made contact with Kelly Cole. Furthermore, you were also told via expert opinion that victims of epilepsy seizures do not have full control of their body or full awareness of their surroundings before, during, and after a seizure. Therefore, it is quite frankly impossible for Tracy to see, feel, or hear that she was being handled, if at all she knew she was being handled during her seizure. It has now come time for you, the jury, to make a verdict, guilty or not guilty. Before you make up your minds, allow me to please remind you of certain facts. We had Dr. Carolyn Huerta on the stand today and contradict a few of what our EMT Kelly Cole has to say. We have learned through Dr. Huerta that post-ictal state can last up to days, which Tracy Davis confirmed. Our EMT said she was out of the state, of post-ictal state, as she arrived to the scene. Our EMT also put a number on the amount of seizures that exist. She said 2 to 4. Our expert opinion let us know that you cannot put a number on how many seizures exist because there's simply too many to put a hand on. They vary from patient to patient. Our expert opinion also let us know that it's possible to be speaking during and after your seizure, despite how much awareness you may have. This includes cussing and yelling. To conclude, allow me to remind you that it was not Tracy's intention or will to come into contact with Kelly Cole. It cannot be deemed as reckless behavior, as Tracy's state of mind was altered enough to know that she was even being handled to begin with. Ladies and gentlemen, the defense counsel trusts that you will all reach a verdict of not guilty for Ms. Tracy Davis, as you have been presented this information and learned the discredibility of our EMT during the day of August 8th of 2018. The defense rests.
Rebuttal from the state?
Yes, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, let me first start off by saying that the expert witness that the defense brought was not able to even identify the post-ictal and inter-ictal state, and they qualify as a physician. It's hard to determine how that can be believable when they're not even able to identify a simple medical term when they're being asked. How do you come at someone, and not just anybody, but a public servant with a hit in the face? And how can we think that that is okay? Mrs. Cole was just trying to do her job, a job that she sacrificed so much for to get to where she is today. She testified before you today and let you know that what her job entails, and she saves lives, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't know about you, but I don't take that very lightly.
Yes, Your Honor, she's saying personal belief.
Overruled. The jury will be guided by the evidence that has been presented before you, and we will rely on your collective memories of that evidence.
Am I able to show these to the jury now?
Yes, ma'am.
Take another look at these images. These images were of a woman who is just trying to do her job, and this hit at her came fast, like a lightning strike. It was uncalled for, and when it wasn't just. And I think we owe her better. We owe our first responders better. When the dispatch phone rings, this woman doesn't think twice about whether to respond to the call or not. She just goes, completely unaware as to what's ahead. It could be a simple call of an elderly person fell in their house. It could be something more serious, like somebody's having an epileptic seizure. And they go in there with the intention to try to help somebody, and they come out hurt. We as a community need to assure that we protect our first responders, because we owe that to them. And Mrs. Cole has served our community more than well. This cannot be a form of repayment to this woman. The defense stated that the defendant saw the boogeyman when, the last time I checked, I don't think that a boogeyman wears a paramedic suit. And it's unfortunate.
The defendant did not say that EMS was the
defense, not defendant.
Overruled. It's closing argument.
It is unfortunate that the fact that others think that an assault on a police officer can be overlooked. the life of somebody is being directly affected, she shouldn't be treated this way. And whether or not she had a seizure, you're not allowed to hit anybody. It doesn't matter if she was wearing an EMT uniform or a police officer's uniform, or she could, the person that.
You know, that's a mistake with the law. It doesn't matter who gets it.
That's what I'm saying.
Jury will be guided by the evidence they have heard and the instructions contained in the charge of the court.
I ask you to remember that when concluding, that you only have to conclude that Mrs. Tracy Davis is responsible of only one, either knowingly, intentionally, or recklessly assaulting this EMT officer, sorry. Just one. You don't have to agree on which one. It doesn't matter. And any exhibits that you obviously saw here today, they can be repeated. They can be shown to you again. On that day in August, it was Officer Cole and Officer Eli's job to protect this school. Because, as stated before, the safety of the EMTs is number one priority, yes, over the patient. Because this person that's there is trying to help the patient as much as they can. And how can they help a patient or anybody else around them medically if they're being hurt physically? Today it's my job to try to defend the community, because this EMT officer that you see here before you, it's just more than one person. It's important that we acknowledge what happened here, that way it does not happen again. Because it can happen again. Not only with the same person that we have before you today here, but with anybody else. And we cannot think that that is okay. And today I protect not only Mrs. Cole, but also the rest of our first responders, and I ask you to do that as well. I ask you to be a part of this. It's not just me, it's all of us here in this room. It's our duty, it's our job. Thank you.
All right, you've now heard all the evidence, been read the court's charge, you've heard the closing argument of counsel. At this time, we've asked you to go to the jury room and deliberate. We will await your verdict. All rise for the jury. All right, you may be seated. And take a deep breath. All right, can I make a few comments?
Please. Yes.
First off, say this, I didn't realize it was 5 times now that I've done this, but for people that have not had any legal training, I'm always amazed at how good a job y'all do. Yes, it's rough, and yes, I sit and cringe some things, but for not having gone to law school, not having had a bunch of trials, it's amazing what a good job y'all do. So commend yourselves for that. You did a good job. Let's see, opening statement, the state was really good. At first when you were talking about seeing yourself at work and being insulted and then being hit, you started giving them something to see and think about. How this would normally happen in reality would be that the folks would have gone through half a day of jury selection and qualifications, and they're not told anything about the case to speak of. And so when you get up and start and get to be able to talk.
Your Honor, the jury's requested to see the photographs.
Send them back. Very good. Good point. Anyway, they don't know anything about the case. They have no idea why they're here. And so you need to tell them exactly why, and that is your first opportunity to talk to the jury and tell them exactly what the case is about. And I don't know if any of y'all were here a few weeks ago, but I did a speech for the legal studies group on persuasive speaking, word pictures, making people see things. And when you were talking about going to work and getting hit and getting punched and that kind of thing. You began to give some things that you can use for visualization. So that's very good. Y'all started off, okay, with talking about the boogeyman and using, again, those kinds of words that you can see. Hurting, numb, tasting blood. So that was very good. But you said this is an unfortunate incident. You got to say more than that. You're the defense. What you got to say is it did not happen as the state alleged. You've got from the very first got to say they have overcharged. It didn't happen. They can't prove what they said. You got to really hammer them on that. I'll tell you, I don't know y'all's names. I know y'all's. On my notes I refer to black blazer and red shirt. Red shirt. Years and years ago. In fact, it'll tell you how long ago it was. We were in trial advocacy class at UT Law School, and it was the first time that they had a video camera. And so we got to see ourselves video. We do all that all the time now, but in those days it was a really, really big deal. I got to see myself do a cross-examination. And so I'm sitting there with the microphone and my pen in hand, and the whole time I'm doing it, I'm clicking the pen. So you do things like that. When I started taking depositions, I learned that I said okay before every question. And you said okay before every question. It'll come to you, but it's just something to think about. Think about it. Okay, what was your name? And then okay, and then okay. But just when you were doing that, I thought, boy, that was me 3 or 4 years ago. Okay, you got photographs. The cases about the lady getting hit, lip split, should have been up on the screen very early on. You didn't put them on until you're redirected. You wasted all that time. Those pictures should have been up there. Jury should have been seeing that bloody lip the whole time. You got something like that, you put it up there, they need to see it. And then when you got your victim, you say, is that was your lip? How did that feel? Use her again to show that word picture to get into their minds. On cross-examination is surgery. Cross-examination is a scalpel. You slice and dice. If you're going to ask a question, there's a reason why you ask it. If you don't have a reason to ask a question on cross, you don't ask it. You're not here to have a conversation. You're here to point out something through your question. And when you do that, you do it by a leading question. So you said, how long was this cross-examining Ms. Cole? And she kind of rattled, etc. No. You knew from what you'd already said a little bit how long it was and what the information you'll have. So, and your seizure this time was 30 minutes, 10 minutes, that kind of thing. You got a verdict already?
No, sir. They have a question.
I think we got some aspiring lawyers. So I'm not sure. Was a motor vehicle involved? Okay, this is the kind of thing you get sometimes from jurors because they start thinking about things. Now, questions asked like that, I can't comment. I can't make any kind of response. When they ask specific questions, there's nothing I can say because that constitutes a comment on the weight of the evidence. And so what we'll do is send back a note that says, please consider only the evidence presented. Drives the jurors crazy, but that's all we can say. But we'll tell them. But that's part of, you've got to explain everything and what the facts were, and that's when you're opening. I kind of wondered that as it was going along. How is it that she just happens to be laying on the ground and EMS comes up to treat him? Was it a car accident? Was it, we don't know. And under the law and the facts, it really doesn't make any difference, but that's the kind of thing that the jury can go off on. Okay, we're talking about cross. You want to lead. You're in charge. You can make the person answer the question the way you want it. Your episode, your seizure only lasted 5 minutes, correct? You don't say how long and let them testify. You do the testifying. So you're in the position and you want to put that out there as quick as possible. When the officer testified, you introduced him, got his name, and then had him identify the defendant, and then ask him his qualifications. You don't want to do that. You want the jury to, small thing, but you want the jury to understand his background, qualifications, etc. Introducing them and laying out their background, training, education, all that kind of stuff is very important, because you want that when the person starts testifying, you want the jury to believe it. On cross, from the report, he was sent out because of a possible epileptic seizure. Very good. Yeah, but your question, that's good cross-examination. The reason you were dispatched was for a possible epileptic seizure. Yes. Don't give him any chance or opportunity to say anything else. That's it. Procedural, this is way, way beyond where y'all are, but a motion in limine only says don't do it in front of the jury until the judge says you can do so. Now, 90% of the time, what we'll do is we'll agree to those things. Okay, we won't go into that. If we think once we've got to that point, we think it's now relevant, we'll approach. And so you can come up and say, okay, I agreed not to introduce that, whatever it was. But I think now, based on how the testimony has gone, it's now relevant and it can come in. So when they objected to y'all on the motion in limine, you should have said, again, this is probably way beyond. Well, we now think it's probative. It's more probative than it's prejudicial. Let's see, Dr. Huerta under direct did a really good job of explaining and created, in my mind, a lot of doubt for the defense. Now on cross, you were talking about how she had not seen, treated, didn't know the defendant. All that's good. You want to build on that, but you want, again, you haven't seen Ms. Davis. You don't know Ms. Davis. You've never prescribed any treatment for Ms. Davis. You're just here today because the state's paying you, or the defense is paying you, that kind of thing. Now, on your redirect, you got a little bit better. You tied some of the words that she was using to your opening, hurting, numbness, tasting blood, flailing when being held down. Again, those are all word pictures. You want the jury to start visualizing things. When they're thinking about the case, you don't want them reading, you want them seeing. I have no idea what goal-directed behavior has to do with this. That's gobbledygook. Way too wordy. You know, nobody sits around and thinks, okay, I'm going to punch somebody in the lip. What's happening is somebody's having an episode and something's going on, so you want to approach it from the standpoint of, was she aware? But to say that while this is going on, it's some kind of a goal-directed behavior, you lost me there, I'm sorry. The defendant testified about something on your cross, and it was, you got what the question and answer was, but you said, well, why? Why do you believe that? Oh, no, you never ask why. That opens the door for all kinds of things. Did you get the answer you want? fine. If you get the answer you don't want, you move on. Now, you did come bounce off that and come back and said it's for safety of you and others. Again, you want to put some word pictures in their mind. You don't want someone flailing around either having a pseudo seizure or a real seizure. So taking the medication, treating yourself, doing the right thing, that's good for the safety of you and others, such as me, such as the people on the jury, et cetera, et cetera. You did not use your pictures on your opening. I made a big note about that, and then I had to draw a line down at the bottom because you did use them on your rebuttal. But again, when you've got evidence that's in, number one, you've introduced it for some reason, so use it. You want the jury to see things, and so show them the picture. Have that picture of the bloody lip up there the whole time so that they can look at her. Think about that. That's why you have evidence. That's why you have audio-visual. That's why you use these things. Picture's worth 1,000 words. In this day and age, more and more and more and more. We used to get by without doing any of that stuff. And now, there's not a case that goes by that we don't have audio and visual and in-car videos and photographs. And you want the jury to see something so that they can ask to take it back and look at it when they're deliberating. Because you want them, as they're back there deliberating, looking at that picture, thinking about that defendant. Man, that would hurt. You want them to have that in their hand. Overall, y'all did a great job. That was fun. I enjoy doing this, and I hope all of you will continue on in some capacity with the legal system. And being a lawyer is a fun thing. Being a trial lawyer is a real fun thing. You get to argue and scream and holler and act out. And if you're a ham like I am and like doing that kind of stuff, you will enjoy being a trial lawyer. There's lots of other things in the law than being a trial lawyer, but that to me is the most fun part. And so everybody did a real good job. All right. Any questions? All right, let's see what the jury does.
Your Honor, if they have questions, and send them to me.
Oh, sure.
May I pass them along?
Absolutely.
We're going to meet next week for class, and we'll be able to go through those things then. So, but think of some questions. Y'all have got to speak up. Got to speak up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was having a lot of trouble hearing all the way back here in the back row.
I was having trouble hearing.
You've got to be like right in it. Yeah. Like right.
And weren't our witnesses wonderful? Our witnesses did a great job. Everybody was so prepared. Yeah. And both sides worked very hard with it was obvious that the witnesses had been prepared. So good job there.
My court handles felonies and civil, so I like to say I've tried everything from a dog bite case to a capital murder. And it's literally true. And well, there's all kinds of variations in every case. They all kind of follow the same scheme, the same arrangement. State or the plaintiff has the burden, all that kind of stuff. And so this is kind of what it'll be like.
He's had it. I don't know if you know this, but that's where he's heading, so, we'll see. Hopefully, see it.
We have a verdict.
All rise for the jury. Please be seated. All right, who is the foreperson of the jury? Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Wait a minute, you're stealing my time now, I just answered your question. You have reached a unanimous verdict?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, if the defendant will please stand. I'll read the verdict of the jury. We, the jury, found the defendant, Tracy Davis, not guilty. Verdict will be received and filed, and the defendant will be released from custody or any type of attachment. All right, at this time the proceedings are adjourned.
All right.
We'd like to get some pictures,
okay.
but are there any comments from the jurors, from the lawyers? Oh my goodness, we should see.
How many?
We have so many.
What do you want us to do?
What do you want us to do? For one thing, you can hit the highlights, but we are gonna have class next week. So if you, I think you all have my email address. If you'd like to send comments to me, or you're welcome to show up for class, then we would love to get your comments and go over them. And if you have any questions as well for Judge Neves, for Officer Hughes, for the witnesses or the lawyers, if you're curious about maybe a 1L, about how the witnesses felt about their preparation or something like that. If you have a question for anybody, feel free to ask. But comments as well, just hitting the highlights.
Real quick, was there a car involved?
We don't know.
Why?
We don't know.
Oh. I guess, Nick, do you want to go first? Since you went out?
Y'all go first and I'll go last.
One comment each of them.
Yeah. My big thing was I feel like to y'all, y'all use the word irresponsible a lot, and I kind of just wanted to like go over there and be like, please don't use reckless instead of irresponsible, because it's one of the elements you're trying to prove. Yeah, I feel like that was one of the big things that was lacking in y'all's argument. Y'all did really well proving the other elements, but it was just the actual recklessness. I would have liked to hear that defined.
I thought you were great.
All the witnesses were.
Yeah.
My comment is for the prosecution. You gotta learn how to pronounce the words. Like you said it 6 times. One, like I literally do not know how to pronounce it.
Post-dictal.
Yeah.
Post-dictal and ickle. It's just
Yeah.
a tongue twister. It's a tongue twister.
I know, and when you asked her what it was, like when you said that and you messed it up and she wasn't able to understand it, she asked you to rephrase it, and then you said the same thing right back to her but with a different pronunciation of the word. And not to like go on you, but that's one thing. And for the defense, I know I said one each, but y'all, when y'all had objected to the stuff about the car and about drives, I know. And then they sustained that, but then they asked the same question again and you didn't object again, and you should have done that. So, 2 comments, sorry.
Your guys' openings and closings were phenomenal. I really enjoyed them, even though some of them didn't. I really liked them. They were really good. As far as critique goes, you guys got timing as far as your objections go. Do it faster, because you we're putting them in when they had already answered the question. And timing is essential, because you don't want us to hear what they were saying. See what I'm saying? That's it.
And just dovetail on that, just so you won't be crushed, that's right, okay? But, y'all were tigers about objecting. And it wasn't always pretty, and you didn't, I always know what you were saying, but and you don't, that's strategy, so sometimes you don't want to object very much. That is part of the strategy, and sometimes you can really be annoying by objecting all the time. But y'all were tigers about throwing that, and I don't think you did object too much, maybe a little bit in closing. But I don't think, really that you did, and I was quite impressed because I don't remember seeing a mock trial with that many objections and being tigers about it. I've seen before when people said, "Objection, Your Honor," I'll withdraw the objection. I have seen that a lot. So y'all hung in there. Very, very well done.
I feel the witnesses were very well prepared, but the closings, they could have hit the elements a lot more, and it could have been more fun.
For the state, yes, I agree, y'all should have used the word reckless a lot, but also for the defense, y'all should have played around with the word justification, because it's not uncontested that there was a hit, but was she justified or was she not? That's what the defense should have kind of played around with. Also, the defense, your closing was great, but I thought it sounded like an opening, so I thought maybe that should have been switched. Also, remember when your defense, the state goes twice. So I think it's a really cool strategy. I did this last year to challenge the state. If they, because they have the burden of proof, right? So if you challenge them and be like, well, jury, they didn't answer element 1, element 2. I challenge them to answer it, because then now they have to rebut it. And if they just ignore you or don't answer it, I mean, then there you go, right? And then on the state, the opening, closing, I guess for all just, you're not trying to, I guess, argue your case with all the facts and how, you're not trying not to give a timeline out, but try to kind of paint a picture for the whole entire trial. You're supposed to paint a picture when a witness is up there and you're talking to us. We don't know what happened, so y'all have to literally paint the picture. And I think in the beginning when the defense objected and y'all were trying to say, he's not an expert witness, or I think what y'all were trying to say is that they hadn't recognized him or entered him into being an expert witness yet. And I think the state was getting ready to do that by painting a picture on like the criteria of the witness. And once they'll do that, I remember, I think, just stand up and say like, Your Honor, we'd like to identify that the witness has been like an expert or whatever, because then you can ask opinionated questions only on the witness's field. And then that's why they started to object. It's kind of just all like painting a picture. You kind of set it up. We all did it really, really good.
Officer Hughes, is there anything that springs to mind? I'd put you on the spot.
Well, the only thing I've thought of, as far as your closing, I've seen a lot of times that the prosecution will waive the first.
Oh, see, I don't like that. That's dirty pool, I think, and I would object to that, yeah.
And I would sustain it.
Thank you, Judge. That's good to know.
But y'all did an excellent job, and the witnesses were great, and the defendant, you were really good too.
Great, if we could get some, unless there's some questions from the audience.
I actually have one more comment. When it comes to to more elaborate on what I said earlier, when it comes to the element of recklessness, make sure y'all kind of are all on the same page of what act you're naming to be the reckless act, not necessarily whether or not it's this person not doing something that could have prevented the situation, or whether or not it's the actual act of the person hitting the public servant, because it helps your all your facts and all your proof.
Yeah, was it reckless that she hit the person, or was it reckless that she didn't take her meds that morning?
Yeah, and then if having that more defined between the group knows what you can be kind of going in on, asking more their questions towards, because it was already like agreed between everyone that the cop or the official was hurt. And so what part of the situation was reckless, and then you can ask all your questions to kind of be like, okay, we're kind of drilling in this point of this act wasn't done, like such as maybe taking meds wasn't done, which was the reckless act, because it created a risk that was substantial, et cetera, et cetera.
Just focus more on important things in the case, like mentioning the car. As you can see, it's just a total distraction, not important.
Oh my god.
Y'all made it so it seemed so important that there was. Y'all made it seem that there was so important that there, like she had her driver's license. I was like, was there a car? Did I miss something?
But yeah, she mentioned it, but it wasn't necessarily relevant to the case at hand of what you're trying to prove.
Okay. Also, with the state's closing, a little something, like as a juror, I was kind of offended when when y'all said even if you're having a seizure, it is not okay to like hit a EMS. Even if you're having a seizure, they have no control when they have a seizure. So why would they be at fault?
Yeah, like again, that kind of focuses more on the, what are you guys trying to prove was the reckless act, or what, like, because it's not that, no one here is arguing whether or not they were hit, they were, like, what's the reckless act? Because then otherwise you're just kind of throwing a bunch of things out there that, like, don't all kind of go together.
If any is finished.
And
no, I just want to say you guys did a great job. Like, we're kind of excellent, and we're not complimenting y'all. I've been there. Like, obviously, y'all were nervous. Y'all were like, shaking. I was there too. Believe me. Yeah, I know it's nervous.
Believe me, he
you guys did a great job.
Let me put one more thing out. If you're a public servant, you're EMS, if you're a cop, you go into work, like knowing that you could be harmed, and like the patient or the patient, I feel that they should be they're number one.
Yeah, and I would have liked to hear the defense say that.
Oh, yeah, let's not talk about that one. Yeah, I mean, the law is in place for the EMT to be taken. Yeah.
Ruben was not only here doing that and nervous, but then he showed up as an intern in my court.
I was nervous there.
He was nervous there.
Just double checking.
All right, photographs?
Yes.
And you're just logging.
Oh no!
All that's right.
Oh no, I literally was not thinking of her at all. Like, they lost me. I saw it.
Yeah, I got your
I was gonna ask her.
What's up?
I'll catch you on the phone.
Fifth year anniversary.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it.
Sarah, next week.
Very good. And please, are you coming out for that?
Check out his post. It's different.
I just want to say, once you did that, like, it immediately broke. Like, almost all of our concentration on our story.
Okay.
I had a hard time.
She was here. I don't know where she was. Did you have a
She said she was going.
Did you have a question?
There you go. All right.
What's the Did Nick leave?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to sign up for
Yeah, he's got to go.
Great.
Who named Jeff?
Where's Callie?
We're going to Union Tower because it's
Wait, we need to
Oh,
a picture of a little giraffe.
Be willing to
Well,
do.
next stupid and not. Ready? 1, 2,
He said very good.
3.
Let's make sure we're
One more.
clean.
1, 2.
I cannot wait for this turn.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. You're welcome.
Don't even pleasure to see you.
Thank you for being well with you folks.
Okay.
Have y'all tried
Sorry, I
the
didn't think it was her.
My name's Jeff.
My name's Jeff.
Oh, yeah,
Stop,
Jeff.
stop, the meeting, they're coming.
You call me that too.
He's like, well.
He said it first.
Every time I read that post, I think it's like,
Come on, boss, I'll get on
Hey, Tim is your new chief, right? Yes, sir. Yeah, I knew Tim from Dickinson when I was on the council there. He was there and we moved uptown. So I will be in touch with him and let him know if I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. He's been a great chief.
Good. Good. All right.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
Man, I wish Daz was here so he could One. Yeah. Dumb and dumber on either side.
They won.
I had a shake.
I did too.
My hair. Oh,
It's a choice.
yes, too.
Yeah, get there defended. Pretty. Thank you. Innocent or acquitted. I don't know.
Acquitted?
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all gotta be
Always, for heaven's sake, defense team, always stand up beside your client every time.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. It looks cool.
It
looks like a united front.
That's, it's not.
You look like you stand next to your client, like this is my client. Like, you gotta-
There you go.
Even in
Ready?
trash
1, 2. One more.
Aww.
And how about Gerard?
If only this happened every after
Gerard,
case.
Gerard,
Yours? Yeah, let's go.
Oh, no.
Oh,
my stuff's still in the classroom. I know the class is expired.
Get my good drink.
Get my good. You have to.
All of them are assigned.
All right, good.
Alright, here we go. 1, 2. One more. 1, 2. There you go.
Can we please give a hand for our videographer?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you all.
If Vinny's finished,
Yeah,
we're
come
all
on in,
good here.
You're welcome. And thank you. No, not at all. Not at all.
Where do you want to go?
I get my stuff as a class time. Classroom and have my stuff with that.
No.
It's not the run.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, go.
Yeah,